LeBron James is a great basketball player. We can give him that. I think that we have to concede that, but he's not a great politician per se. He's got very woke ideas and ideas that are not really always backed up by facts. He says things that he reads or that the establishment media is telling him, but he doesn't actually know what's happening as far as the nitty-gritty details. And that's exactly what happened during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Rittenhouse was testifying about how he had to kill 2 men in self-defense, which is a pretty scary thing, a pretty traumatizing thing for a 17-year-old to have to go through. And so he was talking about that. He was discussing what happened on that night, and he broke down in tears on the stand because, as you might imagine, he's still traumatized by the event that happened not that long ago. And so he was crying on the stand, and LeBron James decided to send out a tweet that suggested he was fake crying. I think we have that. We can pull that up for you guys. He said, "What tears? I don't see one, man. Knock it off. The boy ate some lemon heads before walking into court," which lemon heads aren't even that sour, so I don't know.
Is that a drug reference?
I don't know.
I assumed it was a drug reference, but I don't know.
I thought he was talking about the candy, which is pretty sweet, so I don't know what kind of lemon head.
I don't think I've ever looked like that after eating a lemon head.
No, I don't think so. It looks like he ate a warhead, if anything, but obviously that's ridiculous. LeBron has no idea whether Rittenhouse is actually crying. And I understand LeBron grew up in a rough neighborhood, but for at least the last 20 years of his life, he has no experience going through something nearly as traumatizing as that. So even if he does have that experience, he's well removed from it. So I think...
Doesn't he cry too? Doesn't LeBron James cry? I mean, that's again, I don't watch that. But I've heard that.
He was pretty well roasted on Twitter after he made this comment about Rittenhouse, with people saying, "You cry all the time." He flops all the time, always trying to draw fouls when there isn't one to be had. And he has physically cried on the court. He's cried because he cramped up. There's pictures, videos.
He's a grown man with a cramp. A grown man with a cramp, and he's crying.
Yeah.
And he's criticizing a boy who is on trial for his life.
Yeah. So it's
class act.
Right. And so you can see how that maybe would be something that would get under Kyle Rittenhouse's skin, and rightfully so, because there's no reason for him to be acting like that when Rittenhouse is in clearly a stressful situation, having to deal with this. He's in court, and LeBron tries to joke about it, make it a laugh that he's actually fake crying. This is a real serious issue, and luckily Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty on all counts, and so he gets to walk free, which is what needed to happen. But with that said, people making comments like LeBron and suggesting that Rittenhouse is lying or that he's trying to manipulate the jury, that could very well have had an effect on the trial. And so I think it's fair for Rittenhouse to be upset about these comments. And so he went on a show, I believe it was on Monday. It was a podcast from Blaze TV. He was discussing with the hosts this tweet from LeBron, and he had a pretty blunt message that he gave to LeBron. I think we have a clip that we can pull up of that.
Said that.
Really?
Yeah. I was really pissed off when I said that because I like LeBron, and then I'm like, you know what? You LeBron.
Seriously.
I mean, that's harsh, but can you really blame him after the way LeBron treated him, the things that he's gone through over the past, few weeks, months, even the past year? And now he's free. He's able to say what he thinks, and he is telling LeBron maybe what he deserves to hear. I'm curious if you guys think that that's merited.
Well, I will say that I try to stay away from swearing as best as I can. So, but in that situation, I can't really say that I'm fully going to judge Kyle Rittenhouse because he ultimately was dragged through the coals. His entire life was destroyed. The media is obsessed with making a martyr, and they made Kyle Rittenhouse really into one because people are able to point at Kyle Rittenhouse now and say, hey, like this kid was acting in self-defense, and now we have a sitting president of the United States posting on Twitter that this kid's a white supremacist. He's inciting all of these mobs to come out to Kenosha and riot and say that the jury needs to make the right decision. And ultimately, we've seen that time and time again. We even saw that during the George Floyd trial, which was Biden saying, I hope they make the right decision. And Maxine Waters showing up saying, oh, we know what's going to happen if they don't give us the right verdict. And so I think first and foremost, we have to really acknowledge the importance that the jury played in this, because I think a lot of people were nervous. But I think that it's fine that Kyle Rittenhouse said that because, again, LeBron James has no idea what he's talking about. He clearly didn't follow the trial. I saw even leftists on Twitter saying that Kyle Rittenhouse should be able to walk just based on the prosecution and how bad that case went. And I think as time went on, more and more people woke up and said, hey, it looks like Kyle Rittenhouse really didn't do anything, especially just with all of the weird things with like evidence missing, the defense not having the same evidence as the prosecution, just all of these weird things and questioning his Fifth Amendment rights. So I do think that it was justified. I do think it turned into a witch hunt.
Remember, this is a kid who in open court was attacked by prosecutors. Prosecutors are charged with upholding the law and keeping the community safe. The prosecutors in this case, however, told Rittenhouse, really, he should have just taken the beating that was coming from the mob that was chasing him. And remember, one of the people who was chasing him, I think they all three had criminal records, but one of them had been convicted multiple times of child rape. So Rittenhouse had literally been told in open court, you really should have just taken whatever the rapist was wanting to dish out to you. I think I'm a grown man. I think I would possibly cry if someone told me I had to do that in open court. And then if I had defended myself and they were trying to, the prosecution, which again is there to protect the public, if they were trying to put me in jail for it. That's and then, the left's messaging on this is really super inconsistent too, because most of the time kids are off limits. Greta Thunberg is off limits. Remember? Greta Thunberg's off limits. She's a child. We can't talk about her. It's not fair. But Rittenhouse, who's someone who went to a community that he had family in, lived in, had a rifle that he kept there. He goes out with a med pack, helps put out a fire, treats some wounds, and then a crowd chases him and tries to kill him. Again, a rapist trying to attack him. He protects himself, and now he's on trial for his life. I'd probably cry over that too. It's
I think all the way back,
unbelievable miscarriage of justice.